Rolling short, let's get right to this. Anti-white female who calls herself a liberal. We never give them the names of their taking, finding it hard to find a specific type of man. Let's see if you can identify what kind of man she's looking for. A lot of people, a lot of conservatives out there are getting it wrong.
Do you want to know one of the saddest realizations I recently had? Was that as a liberal woman, it is really hard to find a man who is willing to play the more traditional masculine role in the relationship.
Is it a traditional masculine role that this anti-white wench is looking for? No, of course not. The traditional role of masculinity, is something that has long been dead. It can be found here or there, but it's about as rare as hen's teeth today. What she's talking about is the masculine role that stuck around like a vestigial limb. You can still find this masculinity all over the place, this faux masculinity that sort of was an appendage that the anti-whiteism turned actual anti-whiteism into, and that all of our mothers, if you are a male in the West today, you probably had your mother say to you that, well, to be a man is, as though a woman could tell a man what it means to be a man. And then all of their definitions was about subservience to women. Woman gets mad, beat up the thing that caused her to be mad. Woman cries, beat up the thing that caused her to cry. Make sure that you give her all your money. Make sure that you totally bow, submit, and prostrate yourself before her authority. Make sure you are subordinate and obedient to the woman because she's independent and she leads. She doesn't need you. So that's what this woman is looking for. She's saying, where are all these men that used to be faux masculine? They used to be good little trucklers, good little simps, good little slaves. Well, a lot of guys out there are learning. They're not becoming men. They're out there learning that it makes no sense to submit to women and have them take everything and dominate everything. It's a lot more advantageous to just sit on your ass, play video games, and use pornography, because submitting to a woman is to become a woman's bitch.
In today's day and age, who is not a conservative? A man who
can't find a masculine man who is not a conservative. So what is she saying about men, most men who are, or guys who are conservatives? It's not masculine. It's not masculine whatsoever. It's that faux masculinity of simping and subservience and subordination. That's the masculinity that she's looking for and is having a hard time finding, because the anti-white guys out there in LA where she lives are just are more of an independent mind themselves. They're more of a mind of, I don't know, maybe fooling around with another guy rather than getting involved in some woman and having to be subordinate to her. But just pay attention, because we're going to show what happens when guys are not men and society becomes, and males in society become subordinate to women.
Wants to pay on the first date, who wants to open your door, who has that want and desire to take care of you and to provide.
The want and desire to take care of and to provide comes from the emotion in men that they possess, that they lead a woman and the children that he and his woman bring forth. That is when a man wants to protect, provide, etc. Again, what we've had in our lives is faux masculinity of men endeavoring to provide as subordinates, endeavoring to protect as subordinates to independent leading women in their relationships. And that is something that just wasn't going to last. Guys were going to figure out that this made no sense. It's better just to hang out with the guys and play video games and look at porn than to put up with something like this. So what she is saying is something that guys who consider themselves just regular run-of-the-mill conservatives should be listening to, because that is what the vast majority of them are when they apply the word masculine.
Who is not a conservative. And obviously, as a liberal woman, I do want to be respected for my independence, and I do want to have my own autonomy in the relationship.
So she just said the same thing twice because she's brain dead as an anti-white. She wants autonomy and independence. Okay, dum-dum. So she wants something for nothing. She wants a slave that is selflessly serving her while she is independent, doing her own thing, living her own life, maybe even dating other people, whatever she wants to do, because she's strong.
and not be confined or conformed.
So she doesn't want to have to be responsible. She just wants the perks of having a slave. She doesn't want any of the duties. That sounds kind of typical for most women, doesn't it? It's like, I just want all the benefits and none of the responsibility. Hello, womanhood.
To the traditional female homemaker, childbearing role. And most of the men that I've dated who do have that more natural.
I don't want to make food. I don't want to clean. I don't want to bear children. I don't want to have to obey any rules of decorum. And what are those rules? Of course, she doesn't want to, because she's anti-white. She wants to destroy the norms of the West. Makes perfect sense to me.
Provider masculinity about them are normally conservative. So I don't really know what to do, because I don't.
She has no idea. You see what she's talking about? This is like a prosthetic. It's just the masculinity that she's talking about is just a prosthetic. It's a simulacrum. There's nothing real about it. In the face, in the heat and in the light of real masculinity, she would probably die. She would probably not be able to stand it. She just wants somebody to be subservient. Is she made that clear? If I made it clear?
Don't want to compromise my morals and
don't want to compromise, don't want to have any responsibility. He just has to be a good servant, and then we'll call that being a man. Does that sound like something you guys heard from mothers and aunts and uncles? Grandmothers. Does that sound like something? Yes, it's something that we all were told. That's what being a man is. Sorry, ladies, you don't get to decide anymore.
Values just to find a man, but
she's not going to compromise her anti-white values just to get a servant.
Am I asking to have my cake and eat it too?
Do not fall for that. She's not asking for cake and eat it too. She doesn't even know how to apply that saying, because she's a senseless anti-white. You're not so senseless, though. What ends up happening at the end of the day when men do not possess and therefore lead the women in their lives, their wives, and eventually their mothers when they get old enough, their sisters when necessary, when they don't have men in their lives, and certainly their daughters and sons? What happens when they don't possess and therefore lead, and therefore in that possession and in that leading defend and care for? What happens when they view women as independent leaders and feel themselves subordinate to those women? Well, I'll show you exactly what happens when men succumb to that. Let's just hop on over to this screen right here. Here's what happens. Here's France. I'm not going to be able to show all of this video because of how violent it is. But here's a white woman, maybe the mother, maybe the grandmother, with the white little girl. You can see here that they are terrorized just being alive in the country that used to be a great country of the West, France. Think of everything that has come from that great country of ours. And now our women, because we've allowed them to be in charge, because we've submitted to anti-whiteism, because women have demanded to be in charge, because they have submitted to anti-whiteism. Look at women and little girls now. They cower at their own doorstep, peeking out into the world. Can we go outside? Can we go outside? Should we dare go outside with the world the way it is? Well, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, she's looking both ways. She doesn't know. The little girl, look at her. She's got her fingers to her mouth. She's quite nervous. Oh, and then look here, what's wandering on the street. This anti-white, non-white predator who then starts to make his way. She sees him. Mother sees him. And so she gets ready to go back in the house, but she wants to be coy because she doesn't want to be anti-white. She doesn't want to be what the anti-whites would say is a heretic, what they would call is a racist. Heretic to anti-whiteism. So she wants to just go back in slowly. So it's not because she's nervous about the leering anti-white predator approaching. No, because he's non-white and they're all good. White people are all bad. So she begins, no, honey, let's go back inside. She says, here comes the predator. He comes up to the door and he puts his foot on the door and they try to close it. And now look what happens. He reaches in, he punches in the face, and I can't show any further because he yanks both of them out by their necks onto the pavement, briefly knocking the mother unconscious, grabbing hold of the little girl, yanking her to her feet as though he's going to run off with her as well as what he's stealing. She's able to scream and run back to her, now coming to awareness, coming to some consciousness, mother rolling onto her back after being thrown to the pavement. But that's not all. Oh no, that's not all at all. Because we also have just recently, both of these are brand new, by the way. This is what happens. This is what happens when we allow anti-whiteism to dominate and to dictate the new norms, the new mores of male-female relationship in the West, the new kind of men that women should be desiring to be with. They shouldn't be trying to peer pair. No, they should be all trying to find the prettiest guys they can find and sleep with as many of them as they can and be as independent and take the jobs that would have gone to the men. And then they leer and sneer down at the men who don't have the high paying jobs that they stole from them by being women in an anti-white world. Now, since men are subordinate to women, you now have this. Polish media reveals Polish woman murdered on Greek island of Kos was gang raped by migrant suspects. In other words, anti-white, non-whites. There was the young, beautiful life snuffed out. Polish media outlets have revealed that the 27-year-old Polish woman, Anastasia Rubinska, who was found dismembered inside a plastic bag on the Greek island of Kos, was gang raped by migrant suspects before being murdered and dismembered. You know, some of the most shocking part about this is over the course of this young woman's life, she was working as a waitress in Greece, working as a waitress there. And she had learned by way of anti-whiteism that all non-white males are good. All non-white males are strong. All non-white males are better. That's what she had learned. They only want to help. They only want to be good. They only want to be friendly. And so when she was walking down the street and she was trying to go home, I think it was, she was approached by he was non-white, an anti-white non-white, drove up to her that she didn't know on a scooter of some sort. And he's like, hey, you need a ride? And she said, sure, you're safe. The TV has always shown me the white guys are the villains. And so she hopped these last images of this young woman alive before she was gang raped by anti-white monsters and butchered and put into a trash bag. Ladies and gentlemen, women, get in your place so that white men can reclaim the destiny of the West. Roll out.